Today we're plunging into a topic that's, well, it's rapidly reshaping our professional landscape, AI. It's an incredible tool, no doubt, capable of generating content at, frankly, remarkable speed. But here's the critical reality, the thing we really need to grapple with. AI isn't infallible.
Not even close, sometimes.
Exactly. Think of it like that incredibly talented assistant, super eager to please, but sometimes just a little too confident in their own assertions, even when they're off base.
Precisely. And that's really our mission with this deep dive today. We want to equip you with the systematic approaches you need to truly evaluate, improve, and responsibly leverage AI-generated content.
Right.
Because ultimately, for truly professional quality, for real impact, human oversight and judgment aren't just important, they are absolutely paramount. You just can't skip that step.
So we're going on a journey today. And to make it concrete, let's think about someone, let's call her Alex. Alex is, say, a content manager. She's been tasked with creating a critical client report, and she wants to use AI as a starting point.
A very common scenario now.
Exactly. Her challenge is, how does she actually transform that raw AI output into something polished, accurate, and truly valuable? Something her clients will actually trust. So we'll explore robust quality assessment frameworks, we'll dive deep into fact-checking strategies, uncover effective editing techniques, and we'll wrap up with the professional standards needed to make that transformation happen. For Alex and, well, for you listening.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so if Alex has this crucial report to build, where does she even begin? How does she start to assess what the AI spits out? Before improving it, she needs a way to gauge the quality, right? A system.
That's exactly right. You need a framework. We start with a comprehensive one for evaluation. And the absolute foundation, the bedrock, is accuracy and factual verification.
Okay, accuracy.
You've got to ask the hard questions. Are these facts verifiably true? Can I check them somewhere reliable? Are there any internal contradictions in the text? Is the information current, or is the AI pulling something from, 5 years ago?
Right. Old data can be misleading.
Hugely. And are any quotes or attributions accurate? Is the reasoning itself logically sound? Does it actually make sense?
And what are the telltale signs? The red flags that Alex should be looking out for here? Because, as you said, AI can sound so authoritative, even when it's completely wrong.
That authoritative tone is precisely why the red flags are so crucial. You'll often see things like suspiciously precise statistics, but with no source mentioned.
Like 73.4% said, with no backup.
Exactly. Or confident assertions on topics that are actually hotly debated. Another big one. References to non-existent events or products. Or explanations that sound really plausible, but just don't quite align with your own expert knowledge of the field.
That gut feeling.
Listen to that gut feeling. And be wary of overly simplistic cause and effect claims. For instance, if the AI in Alex's report claimed her industry saw a 37% increase in remote work adoption since 2020, well, that sounds plausible, maybe even likely.
Yeah, it seems reasonable.
But it absolutely needs verification from a reliable industry report before she puts it in front of a client. Think about the liability if that number's wrong.
Okay, point taken. That's a crucial first step. So once we're feeling, let's say, reasonably confident in the factual accuracy, what's the next layer of assessment for Alex's report?
Next up is relevance and appropriateness. Because even perfectly accurate content can be completely useless if it's not relevant to your specific needs or appropriate for the context.
Right. Accurate but irrelevant doesn't help the client.
Not at all. Alex needs to ask, does this content truly address my specific requirements for this client? Is it tailored to the right audience, or is it too generic? Does it align with my organizational context, our values, our constraints, maybe budget or regulatory limits?
Okay.
Is it actionable for the client? Can they do something with this information? And importantly, does it avoid unnecessary tangents? Does it stay focused?
Yeah, it's easy to imagine AI giving very generic advice, improve communication, when you need something highly specific for a niche client.
Exactly. That's a classic red flag. General advice that could apply to anyone. Examples from totally irrelevant industries. Or content that's technically correct, sure, but just not useful for your particular purpose. So if Alex's AI draft gives general social media marketing info, but her client specifically needs to market to, say, B2B healthcare providers under really strict regulations, well, that's a clear sign she needs to guide the AI much more specifically, or maybe just write that section herself.
Got it. So accuracy, relevance. What about the feel of it, how it comes across, the delivery?
Yes. That brings us to tone and style consistency. For anything representing you or your organization, this is absolutely crucial. Does the tone match what you need? Is it formal, warm, authoritative?
Right. Depends on the goal.
Completely. Is the style consistent throughout the document, or does it kind of jump around jarringly? Does it use the appropriate language and jargon for that specific client? Does it align with Alex's established brand voice? And maybe most subtly, is the emotional tone appropriate, especially if you're dealing with sensitive topics?
I've definitely seen AI outputs that sound a bit robotic.
Yeah.
It's trying too hard to be human, maybe, and then suddenly it snaps back into something very stiff and corporate.
Yes. Those abrupt shifts in formality or voice are big red flags. Overly casual language in a formal document. Inconsistent terminology calling the same thing by 3 different names. If it just doesn't sound like your organization, or if it handles sensitive topics in a tone-deaf way, you know you've got editing work ahead of you.
Yeah.
Imagine an AI writing a customer apology email for Alex's company, but it sounds defensive and overly corporate. That needs fixing. It has to be empathetic, human, while still maintaining professionalism.
Absolutely. And finally, for a big report like Alex's, it needs substance, right? It needs to be thorough. What about that aspect?
That's the final pillar, completeness and depth evaluation. You have to ask, does this report cover all the necessary aspects the client expects? Is the depth of information appropriate for their needs, or are there significant omissions? Did it just skim the surface? Does it provide adequate context for their specific situation? And are the examples or the evidence provided sufficient to actually support the claims being made?
So it's not enough for it to be accurate and relevant. It also has to be comprehensive. It can't leave big holes.
Precisely. Watch out for superficial treatment of complex topics, where it feels like it's just glossing over the tricky bits.
Yeah.
Or a one-sided presentation of contested issues where it ignores valid counterarguments. Missing steps and processes is another one, lack of nuance, and conclusions that just hang there without supporting reasoning. For example, if the AI gives Alex a good overview of a product launch strategy, but completely leaves out any discussion of, say, competitive positioning or potential market challenges for her client, well, those sections absolutely need to be added to make the report truly useful. It's incomplete otherwise.
Okay, this framework makes a lot of sense. Accuracy, relevance, tone, completeness.
Yeah.
Got it. Now, let's move into that critical next phase, because this really addresses AI's most, deceptive tendency. Alex knows the AI can be confidently wrong.
Yes, the confident inaccuracies.
So that's where her meticulous investigation skills come in. It's not enough to just read it. She needs to verify every crucial detail, right?
Absolutely. AI can, and often does, present incorrect information with remarkable confidence. That makes fact-checking an absolutely essential skill, not optional. And the first step is knowing which claims to prioritize for verification. You can't check everything word for word.
Right, that would take forever.
Yeah.
So what are the big ones? The claims that always demand a second, third, maybe even a fourth look.
Okay, good question. You should always verify quantitative claims, things like statistics, percentages, market sizes.
Yeah.
If it states the global market for this widget is expected to reach $7.3 billion by 2025. That needs checking.
Numbers, got it.
Also, legal and regulatory statements. These are critical. Like under GDPR, companies must always obtain explicit consent for this type of data collection. You cannot afford to get that wrong.
Definitely not.
Technical specifications about products or compatibility. Historical facts, especially specific dates or company origins. And a really important one, competitive claims. Assertions about your rivals or even about your own market position, like, we are the only provider offering this specific feature. You have to verify that.
Okay. So for Alex's client report, it's about prioritizing these, maybe like high, medium, low, based on how foundational the claim is to her argument.
Exactly that. High priority claims are the ones the whole argument or decision rests on. Medium priority claims support the case. Low priority might just be illustrative examples.
Makes sense.
So if Alex's AI-generated market analysis, say, claims a 23% CAGR compound annual growth rate for a sector,
Yeah, a specific number.
and also states a key competitor is planning to discontinue a competing product line,
Ooh, important strategic info.
and it mentions a specific regulatory change that supposedly takes effect next quarter, well, she needs to verify all 3 of those immediately. Those are high priority.
Right. So once Alex knows what to check, how does she actually do the detective work? Where does she find truly reliable sources? It's not just a quick Google search, I'm guessing.
Definitely not just a quick search. Though search is where you might start. We rely on a source hierarchy. At the very top are primary sources.
Okay. Original stuff.
Yes. Original research from academic journals, government publications like census data or regulatory filings, company financial reports, legal texts, the source material itself.
Got it.
Next level down are high-quality secondary sources. Think reputable industry research firms like Gartner or Forrester, major news publications known for rigorous fact-checking, the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, BBC, or professional association publications.
Okay, trusted intermediaries.
Right. And finally, there are specialized expert sources. This could be technical documentation for a piece of software, or interviews with or writings by recognized authorities in a very specific field.
So it's really about tracing the information back as close to the origin as possible.
Precisely. The process looks like this. Identify the specific claim the AI made. Determine the right type of source you need to verify it. Locate at least one, ideally two, reliable sources of that type. Then, carefully compare the AI's claim to what the source actually says, and critically, note any discrepancies.
Okay.
For instance, if the AI claimed in Alex's report that, say, remote workers are 47% more productive than office workers, that sounds great, very specific.
Yeah, a powerful statistic.
But checking the original study cited, perhaps in the Journal of Economic Perspectives, might show that this is misleading. Maybe the study actually found a 47% productivity increase, but only for a specific group, like call center workers, under specific conditions, not for remote workers generally. That's a critical distinction the client absolutely needs to understand.
Wow, okay. That's subtle, but hugely important.
Yeah.
And what about those times when the AI just makes stuff up, those hallucinations we keep hearing about? Are there patterns Alex can look for to spot them early?
Oh, yes. There absolutely are characteristic patterns. Learning these common AI hallucination patterns is key to becoming a really sharp investigator. One common one is plausible but fabricated statistics. Like 78% of users prefer this interface design. Sounds totally believable, right? But there's no study behind it.
Just pulled out of thin air.
Essentially. Another is non-existent sources. The AI confidently cites Smith & Johnson's 2022 comprehensive study, or refers to an expert, Dr. Someone, who doesn't actually exist or didn't write that. You also see blended concepts, where it kind of mashes together features from different products or different versions of a theory, and temporal confusion, mixing up timelines, presenting outdated info as if it's current. And be very wary of overconfident simplification. Meaning it presents really complex, debated topics with unwarranted certainty. It often makes things sound just a bit too good to be true.
So it's almost like the more certain and perfect it sounds, the more suspicious Alex should be.
Often, yes. That's a good rule of thumb. Red flag indicators include suspiciously round numbers, like exactly 50% or 80%, or very precise numbers without any specific source cited. Perfect alignment with your exact question can also be a flag. Reality is usually messier, more nuanced.
Right.
If it offers these comprehensive, neat explanations for topics that you know experts are still debating, be skeptical. If every single point perfectly supports one conclusion without acknowledging downsides or alternative, raise an eyebrow. And yeah, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Did you give an example?
Sure. I saw an AI confidently list the 5 principles of effective change management by Dr. Rebecca Chen as a seminal framework in the field. Sounds impressive.
Yeah, sounds legit.
But a quick search reveals no such person, no such specific framework exists in the established change management literature. It just confabulated it, likely blending elements from actual frameworks. That's a classic hallucination that Alex absolutely needs to catch before it gets to her client.
Yikes. Okay, this sounds like, well, it sounds like a lot of work, this verification stage. How does Alex build this into her workflow so it's not just a massive, daunting task each time, but a systematic, efficient process?
That's the key. You have to build verification workflows. For a business report like Alex's, you'd start with an initial flagging pass, just reading through and highlighting claims that need verification. Then categorize them, financial, technical, regulatory, etc.
Okay.
Next, identify the most efficient sources for each category. Maybe one industry report can verify several claims at once. Then, batch verify, tackle multiple related claims using the same source to save time.
Sorry.
And crucially, document your findings. Keep a simple log. The claim, the sources checked, the result, verified, refuted, needs modification, and any corrections made. Then update the content and do one final accuracy check before it goes anywhere near the client.
That sounds thorough but manageable if it's systematic. Are there any specific time-saving techniques Alex can use to make this process smoother without cutting corners on accuracy?
Definitely. Alex could look into domain-specific fact-checking tools if they exist for her industry. She could create a personal or team database of go-to reliable sources for common claim types she encounters often. Developing verification templates or checklists for recurring content types, like quarterly reports, can also speed things up. She can also implement a trust but verify approach based on her experience. Maybe one AI tool she uses is generally better with dates but worse with statistics, so she knows where to focus her energy. And for large documents, collaboration is absolutely key.
Divide and conquer.
Exactly. For a big quarterly market analysis, maybe Alex's team divides the verification. Sarah checks all the competitor claims against their public financial reports. Marcus verifies the technical trends using industry analyst reports. And Alex herself confirms the regulatory statements against official government publications. They track everything in a shared spreadsheet and meet briefly to discuss any discrepancies before finalizing.
Okay, that makes it seem much less overwhelming. Collaboration is key. So Alex has now fact-checked her client report. Every nugget of information is accurate, reliable, sourced. Fantastic. Now, how does she transform these verified pieces into something more? Into truly effective, polished content that speaks her company's language and really resonates with the client.
Right. This is where the sculpting happens, where effective editing comes in. Once you've assessed the quality with that initial framework and you've meticulously verified the facts, you need to shape the message to meet your professional standards. We generally think about editing in two main ways, or maybe two main stages: structural editing versus line editing.
Okay, what's the difference? How does Alex approach these two critical stages?
So structural editing is all about the big picture, the architecture of the document. Alex would be looking at the overall organization and the logical flow of information. She'd be asking, does the structure actually make sense for this client's needs? Is the most important information presented upfront or buried?
Right, the overall journey.
Exactly. Do ideas build logically from one section to the next? Are all the necessary components included, like a strong introduction, a clear conclusion, smooth transitions between sections? And is the emphasis appropriately distributed? Is there too much focus on one minor point or unnecessary repetition?
So structural editing is about getting the blueprint right first, before polishing the individual sentences.
Precisely. Because there's no point polishing sentences in a section that needs to be moved or completely rewritten. Once that blueprint, that structure feels solid, then you move to line editing.
Okay, the sentence level.
Yes. This is about improving the content at the sentence and paragraph level. You're focusing on clarity, replacing vague or ambiguous language with precise terms, breaking up overly long or complex sentences. You're refining for conciseness, eliminating redundant words and phrases, consolidating points, cutting wordy constructions, and you're refining tone and style, adjusting formality, ensuring consistent terminology throughout, and aligning everything tightly with your established brand voice.
And the recommended sequence is definitely structural first, then line by line.
That's definitely the most efficient sequence. Structural first, then line editing, and finally a separate proofreading pass purely for grammar, spelling, and typos.
Right.
For instance, with Alex's AI-generated white paper for her client, she might first decide to rearrange the sections, maybe put her company's novel approach before the detailed problem description to hook the reader earlier. Then she might realize the implementation section is too thin and needs significant expansion. After fixing those big structural issues, she would then go through it line by line, replacing generic business jargon with her industry's specific terminology and adding more concrete, relatable examples for the client.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, even accurate, well-structured AI content can sometimes feel a bit dry, maybe academic or just lacking spark. How does Alex add that human touch, that readability that makes her report genuinely engaging for the client, not just informative?
That's a great point. You need to focus explicitly on enhancing clarity and readability. One really powerful technique is to use concrete examples. Instead of the AI writing something vague like, implementation may present certain operational challenges, Alex could revise it to say something specific like, implementation may require retraining your customer service team on the new system and temporarily reducing their call volume targets during the transition. See the difference?
Yeah, much clearer, more tangible.
Absolutely. Also, add visual signposts. Use clear, descriptive subheadings. Break up dense text with bullet points or numbered steps. Consider tables for comparing data. Simplify complex explanations. Use analogies the client can relate to. Define key terms clearly. Break down big ideas into smaller, digestible chunks. Maybe even add a simple visual aid like a flowchart if appropriate. And always, always improve the transitions between paragraphs and ideas to guide the reader smoothly.
So it's really about making the client's journey through the report as easy and insightful as possible. Less work for them to understand.
Exactly. You could even use a simple readability checklist. Ask yourself, is the average sentence length appropriate for this audience? Is the terminology consistent and clearly explained? Do paragraphs mostly focus on a single main idea? Are the most important points clearly emphasized? And does the content flow logically, maybe moving from familiar concepts to newer ones? Are the examples relevant and helpful? For example, if the AI gives Alex a technically accurate but incredibly dense, jargon-filled explanation of a new security protocol for her client, she'd break it into shorter paragraphs with really clear subheadings. Maybe she adds a simple analogy comparing it to a multi-layered house security system, and perhaps she creates that visual flowchart to map out the steps. That makes it accessible.
That's really helpful. Now, another challenge, a lot of AI output can feel quite generic, right?
Yeah.
It's often designed to be broadly applicable. How does Alex make her report sound uniquely like her company, reflecting their specific context, not just any company?
That's the vital step of personalizing generic AI output. It's crucial for making the content feel authentic and relevant. Alex should start by consciously incorporating specific details about her organization. Reference her company's specific products or services, mention relevant company history or milestones, maybe refer to actual team structures or processes the client might know.
Making it grounded in their reality.
Exactly. She should also try to add authentic perspectives, maybe include brief, relevant quotes from team members, with permission, of course, or share anonymized examples from past company experiences that illustrate a point. Critically, she needs to customize the examples and applications, make them specific to her industry or the types of challenges her typical clients face, and always align the content, especially recommendations, with her company's specific strategic goals or priorities for that client relationship.
So it's about making it truly bespoke, tailored not just to the topic, but to her company and that specific client.
Precisely. A quick personalization checklist for Alex's report might ask, does this content reference our specific company situation or capabilities where relevant? Are the examples and case studies drawn from our industry or relevant to this client's particular scenario? Does the terminology align with our organization's standard vocabulary? And do the recommendations realistically account for our specific operational constraints or the client's context?
Okay.
For example, personalizing an AI-generated customer onboarding guide wouldn't just be about checking facts. It would involve adding actual screenshots of her company's interface, including scenarios drawn from her most common customer types, and maybe adding helpful tips or quotes directly from our customer success team. That makes it real.
That really elevates it. Now, this raises another important question, especially if Alex is creating something like a keynote speech draft, or maybe a thought leadership article under her own name. How do you make it sound authentically like you, with your own personal voice, not just the polished company voice?
Ah, yes. The art of integrating AI content with your own voice. This is essential when the content needs to represent you personally. The first step is actually self-reflection. Identify your own unique voice characteristics.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. What are your typical sentence structures? Do you use short, punchy sentences or longer, more complex ones? Are there particular phrases or transition words you tend to use? What's your usual level of formality? Do you often use specific types of metaphors or analogies? Get clear on what makes your communication style distinctive.
Okay. Know thyself, communicatively speaking.
Exactly. Then use the AI-generated content primarily as a foundation, maybe for the structure, the research, the core information. Don't just tweak it. Actively recast the language in your unique style. Apply your voice patterns. This often means completely rewriting the opening and closing sections, as those are key places to establish your personal connection. Adjust the transition phrases to sound like you. Inject your characteristic insights, opinions, or observations where appropriate.
So using the AI for the heavy lifting of information gathering, but then really overlaying your personality.
Precisely. And then, how do you make sure it genuinely sounds like you? You need to perform a voice consistency check.
How?
Read the entire piece aloud. Does it sound like you talking? Listen for awkward phrasing or tones that feel off. Even better, have a colleague who knows your style well read it and give you honest feedback. Does it sound authentic to them? You can even compare it to emails or other documents you've written previously to check for consistency.
Good tips.
For a keynote speech, for instance, Alex might have the AI generate the core research findings and data points, but she would absolutely rewrite the opening to grab the audience with her personal style, maybe some humor if that's her thing. She'd weave in her usual storytelling approach throughout the middle sections, perhaps using her favorite go-to metaphors. And the closing would be rewritten entirely in her voice to leave a strong personal impression.
That makes a huge difference between just presenting information and truly connecting. Okay, so we've covered assessment, verification, editing, personalization. But beyond the practicalities of crafting Alex's report, there are bigger, broader questions here, aren't there? About how we responsibly use AI in a professional setting. This isn't just about good writing anymore. It's about ethics, conduct, maintaining trust.
That's a crucial point, and one we can't ignore. Professional AI use absolutely requires careful attention to ethical considerations and adherence to established and sometimes still evolving standards. First, let's tackle disclosure requirements and transparency.
When do you need to tell someone AI was involved?
Well, it's complicated because different contexts have different expectations. There isn't one single rule. You really need to know the relevant standards for your specific industry, your own organization's policies, your client agreements, and even your professional role or code of conduct.
So it varies a lot. It's not a simple yes-no.
Not at all. You need to think about appropriate disclosure levels. Sometimes full disclosure is needed. This draft was generated by AI tool X and edited by. Sometimes partial disclosure is enough. AI tools were used to assist in research and drafting. Sometimes it's about disclosing the process. We use AI for initial brainstorming. And sometimes, frankly, no disclosure is needed if AI is just a commonly accepted personal productivity tool, like using Grammarly for spell checking.
Okay.
The general guideline: the higher the stakes of the content, the more transparency and disclosure are typically appropriate or even required.
Can you give some examples?
Sure. In an academic or educational context, transparency is usually high. You might state, initial research for this paper was compiled using AI assistance and then rigorously verified against primary academic sources. For a client deliverable, like Alex's report, she might include a standard note in the footer or methodology section. This report was prepared using a combination of expert analysis and AI-assisted research tools. All key findings and data have been verified and approved by our team.
Okay, clear but concise.
For something creative, maybe, concept development for this campaign was supported by AI brainstorming tools. For a routine internal document, like meeting minutes drafted by AI, maybe no specific disclosure is needed if it's just an efficiency tool within the team and everyone understands that.
Got it. Context is everything. Now, what about the really tricky area of intellectual property? Who actually owns the content AI creates? And how does that impact Alex's ability to use it, especially for clients?
Yeah, intellectual property considerations are incredibly important and, frankly, still a bit fuzzy legally in some areas. A key thing to understand is that in many jurisdictions, purely AI-generated content, meaning content with minimal or no significant human creative input or modification, may not be eligible for copyright protection. The laws are definitely still evolving here.
So Alex can't just take the AI output and claim copyright.
Generally, not without substantial human authorship, editing, revising, adding original content. You also must credit your sources appropriately if the AI is summarizing or drawing from specific external works. Don't present AI-compiled research as if it were your own original investigation.
Right.
And a huge practical point: be extremely cautious about entering proprietary company information or confidential client data into public AI tools. Always understand the data usage policies of the specific AI systems you're using. Where does your data go? Who sees it?
That's a big one. So the takeaway is AI is a tool, not a co-creator in the legal sense, and we need to be transparent and careful about data.
Precisely. Best practices include developing clear organizational guidelines on AI use and IP. For important documents, keep records of your prompts and, crucially, the extent of your editing and original contributions. This helps demonstrate human authorship. Stay informed about the evolving legal standards in your jurisdiction, and, honestly, when in doubt, provide more transparency about AI assistance, not less.
Good advice.
For instance, Alex's marketing team might have a clear guideline. AI can be used for initial drafts, brainstorming, or summarizing research. But a human author must substantially revise, edit, and approve all client-facing content to ensure originality, accuracy, and brand alignment. They might also maintain an internal log documenting significant AI assistance on major projects and have a strict policy. No client confidential information ever goes into public AI tools. Period.
That seems like a sensible policy.
Yeah.
Now, it also seems logical that not every single piece of AI-generated content needs the exact same highest level of scrutiny. How does Alex decide how much effort, verification, editing to put into different types of documents? A quick internal email is different from a major client proposal, right?
Absolutely. That's about understanding and applying different quality thresholds for different use cases. You need a framework for this. Think about it in tiers.
Okay, like what?
Tier 1, critical use cases. These are things with high stakes, legal documents, medical information, financial reports, public-facing statements with significant impact. Here, you apply the absolute highest standards, comprehensive fact-checking of all claims, multiple rounds of review, verification by subject matter experts, meticulous editing for clarity, accuracy, and tone. No corners cut.
Highest level. Got it.
Tier 2, professional use cases. This would include things like Alex's client deliverables, strategic planning documents, important internal reports. Still high standards here. Key claims must be fact-checked, especially quantitative or strategic ones. Thorough editing for clarity, structure, and consistency is required. Multiple reviewers might still be involved.
Still rigorous, but maybe slightly less exhaustive than critical.
Exactly. Tier 3, internal operational use cases. Think routine team communications, draft meeting notes, internal knowledge base articles. Here, moderate standards usually apply. Basic fact-checking for obvious errors, editing primarily for readability and clarity. Often a single review by the author or team lead is sufficient.
Okay, more pragmatic.
And finally, Tier 4, ideation and draft use cases. This is using AI for brainstorming, outlining, summarizing long text for personal understanding. Here, basic standards suffice. The main criteria are usefulness and coherence for the user. Formal fact-checking might not be needed at this stage as it's just a starting point.
Right, the level of effort matches the risk and visibility.
Precisely. The core principle is to invest verification and editing time that's proportional to the potential risk and visibility of the content. So Alex's quarterly market analysis for her top client, that's firmly in tier 1 or 2, highest threshold, multiple checks, technical review, final executive editing. But the AI-generated summary of industry news for her internal team's weekly update email. That's probably tier 3. She'll review it for basic accuracy and clarity, but won't spend hours verifying every single point.
That makes perfect sense. It's about applying judgment. And finally, how does Alex ensure this whole process, the assessment, verification, editing, applying thresholds, isn't just something she does ad hoc, but is systematically built into her team's regular work? How does she embed accountability?
That's absolutely essential for consistent quality, especially as AI use scales. You need to be building accountability into AI workflows. This involves several key components. First, clear responsibility assignment. Who owns the final quality of a piece of AI-assisted content? Who is responsible for fact-checking? For brand voice review, designate roles clearly.
Okay, clear ownership.
Second, implement robust documentation practices. For significant content, keep records, maybe the initial prompts used, the sources checked during verification, key edits made, version history. This creates an audit trail.
Right, traceability.
Third, set up formal quality assurance checkpoints. These could be mandatory review stages in your workflow, standardized checklists for different content types, requirements for peer review before publication or delivery.
Gates in the process.
Exactly. And fourth, crucially, establish feedback and improvement loops. Regularly assess how well the process is working. Are you catching errors? Is the quality consistent? Use feedback from reviews or even client reactions to refine your guidelines, checklists, and training.
So it's a living process, not just a static policy. A clear, accountable pathway from start to finish for every piece of content that involves AI.
That's the goal. A sample workflow for Alex's content team might look like this. Stage 1, creation. AI generates the initial draft, the primary creator reviews, and makes initial edits. Stage 2, verification. It goes to a designated fact checker or a subject matter expert for review of key claims. Stage 3, refinement. An editor polishes it for clarity, style, and consistency. Maybe a brand reviewer checks voice alignment. Stakeholder feedback is incorporated if needed. Stage 4, approval. The final piece is signed off by the accountable owner, perhaps goes through compliance or legal if it's high risk.
That's very structured.
It provides clarity. Her team, for example, might even implement something simple, like a traffic light system. Green content is low risk, maybe needs just one review. Yellow is medium risk, requiring SME verification and editorial review. Red is high-risk content, mandating legal review, comprehensive fact-checking, and maybe even executive approval before release. And importantly, every piece of content has a clearly assigned owner responsible for navigating it through that process.
That really ties it all together. Process, responsibility, quality control. Fantastic. Okay, let's wrap this up. Let's leave everyone listening with some essential strategies, some key tips we pulled from this whole deep dive. Consider this your ultimate toolkit for success in managing AI outputs.
Okay, happy to share some takeaways. First, maybe the practical, almost obvious reminders, but they bear repeating. Always fact-check specific claims, especially statistics that come from AI outputs. Don't just assume they're right.
Trust but verify.
Exactly. Read AI content critically, actively, not passively. Your human discernment, your judgment is paramount. Keep a running list, maybe a shared document of reliable go-to sources for your common topic areas. It saves time later. And for important documents, save both the original raw AI outputs and your meticulously edited versions. This creates a clear audit trail and helps you see the value you added.
Those are solid basics. Now, what about some cleverer tricks? Maybe less obvious approaches people might not have thought of.
Okay, here are a couple of non-obvious tips. First, try using AI to help verify other AI outputs. You can sometimes feed a chunk of AI text back into a model and ask it, identify any claims in this text that might be questionable or require fact-checking. It's not foolproof, but it can sometimes flag things.
Interesting. Using AI against itself.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Second, create a personal style guide document, not just for your company, but for your own voice. Write down your typical sentence structures, preferred vocabulary, common metaphors, level of formality. Refer to it when you're editing AI content to align it with your personal style.
Like a cheat sheet for sounding like yourself.
Exactly. Third, develop specific verification prompts. When you ask the AI to generate content, include instructions like, for any statistics or specific factual claims, please provide the source or basis for the information. It might not always comply perfectly, but prompting for sources up front can help.
Nudging it towards better behavior.
Right. And finally, a simple but effective one. Implement a cooling period. Don't try to edit AI content the moment it's generated. Step away, work on something else, then come back to it later, maybe hours or even a day later with fresh eyes. It's amazing what you'll spot when you have some critical distance. It lets your brain's own internal BS detector engage.
That's a great practical tip. Give it some space. Okay, congratulations. If you've been following along, you've now really explored the essential skills of managing AI outputs. You understand that while AI can generate impressive starting points,
Starting points.
it's your human judgment, your meticulous verification, and your thoughtful refinement that transform that raw output into truly valuable professional quality assets you can confidently stand behind and share.
Absolutely. You've learned a systematic approach now, that framework for evaluating AI outputs across those key dimensions: accuracy, relevance, tone, and completeness. You have concrete strategies for fact-checking, for spotting those tricky hallucinations, and for building efficient verification workflows into your process.
Yeah.
And you've explored editing techniques that go way beyond just fixing typos, enhancing clarity, personalizing generic content, integrating AI outputs with your authentic voice, all while navigating those really crucial professional standards and ethical considerations.
Remember, the goal here, the effective management of AI outputs, it isn't about achieving perfection in every single piece of AI-generated text or spending hours on a draft email. It's about applying the right level of scrutiny, the appropriate amount of refinement based on the importance and the visibility of each specific use case. It's about intelligent allocation of your crucial human oversight.
Well said.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. If AI is indeed becoming this incredibly powerful assistant, just imagine what new levels of innovation, creativity, and genuine human ingenuity become possible when we fully embrace our role, your role, as the ultimate arbiters of truth, quality, and perhaps most importantly, our unique human voice in an increasingly AI-driven world.